I welcome the opportunity to speak briefly on this, and I think it's necessary, and it's thanks again to the Library and Research Service for giving us the digest, because one loses track of the bills and loses track of the lead into it. So thank them, because they work, and I take every opportunity to say it, under extraordinary pressure to produce digests to educate us TDs. In this particular case, it was a relatively easier exercise than a lot of the legislation that has come before us, and I welcome it. And just again, it is to give temporary licensing of outdoor seating where alcohol is sold, and also to allow the private area that's been used for the sale and consumption of alcohol to be regulated, and I welcome that. The reason I wanted to speak today was to talk about the balancing of rights. And so it's very important to give certainty, which wasn't there, to the guards and indeed to the publicans in relation to the law, and that was very important, and it led to a situation in 20 and 21 which was very unhelpful and left the guards in a terrible position. And so I welcome that legislation and the certainty with it. However, I don't know if the balance of rights has been given enough consideration by local authorities. And I'm looking at Galway City Council, and back in approximately 22, the memory fades a little bit as the distance gets more, but back in 2002, we fought a very difficult battle to make the Barcelona Declaration part of the actions in Galway City. And that Barcelona Declaration, which came from the mid-90s, one of the aspects that we were zoning in on was universal access for all citizens, all residents in Galway, that we would get away from the labelling of disability and use universal access. And so we passed that Barcelona Declaration, and we committed to ongoing monitoring of the implementation of that in every way, from dished footpaths to all the other necessary adjustments to make Galway City universally accessible. And I think that went out the window in the crisis, or in the very difficult situation that COVID brought us to, and then the help for the businesses, which was very welcome, and a practical solution extending out the outdoor dining area. But I think it was done without proper consideration, proper debate and proper analysis at City Council level and County Council level of how that was impacting on our obligations under the Universal Declaration. So, Minister, I won't use all my time, but I wanted to raise that, highlight it, and I would like to see what sort of monitoring and hands-on approach. I know the local authorities are independent, and I've spent a lot of my time there, but at some stage there has to be oversight and management and a feedback mechanism from the local authorities, whether they are complying with their obligations and their commitments under the the Barcelona Declaration. Or if they're not, let's say we're not complying with it. But what needs to be done? And I'd love to know what feedback you've got from any city manager. I'm speaking particularly about Galway City, because I'm very familiar with it and the obligations. And the second thing is the balancing of residents' rights who near these outdoor seating. That has never been properly debated either. And I'd say every TD in the Dáil has received, I don't know how many representations in relation to residents being up half the night and making phone calls that were going unanswered. So I'll finish on saying the balancing of rights is extremely important, the monitoring of that, and a feedback mechanism from the local authorities to the department. Garmagad.